Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Nope.
Never mind.
Without.
All right. Counselor Lee is excused this evening. He reached out to me earlier. Sorry, guys, I don't have my glasses on tonight. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the amended agenda as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda passes. Moving on to presentations, proclamations, and visitors. We do not have any presentations this evening. Is there anybody that has signed up to speak or wishes to speak? Nope. Okay. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to number 4, public hearings. There are no public hearings this evening. Moving on, number 5, old business. There is no old business. Number 6, new business. Water management and conservation plan. We now invite staff to present.
Good evening, Matt Etzel, Assistant Public Works Director. Before you is the Water Conservation and Management Plan. In April, Council approved a proposal from Oregon Association of Water Utilities to perform a water conservation and management plan or develop a water conservation management plan. Previously, we had one in our 2015 Water Master Plan. Oregon Department of Water Resources no longer accepts those plans within another plan, and so they're asking that we put together a separate document. And so what happens is every month we report how many gallons are pumped from our wells and then how much is sold and how much leakage we have. And we track all those numbers. Those are in the plan. One thing that we were pretty proud of is that we were below 5%. So that was one thing that Oregon Association of Water Utilities, after they did some calculations with like fire department use, our flushing, and then like our process control. So we have like a chlorine analyzer that runs 24/7. Once we started taking some of those numbers into account, like normally our calculation shows about a 10% water loss every month, but then we started taking in those other factors in it and it brought it down to 5%, which is helpful because as part of this water conservation and management plan, if you're over a certain percentage, the Department of Water Resources actually requires you to do more leak testing and more things throughout the year to try to get that number down. So those are already things that we do on a regular basis. So everything looks good. The one thing I guess that I would like to spend a little bit more time on is like if you'll look, I know we've been talking a lot about needing additional well capacity within the city. And if you look at the numbers, it looks like really good. It looks like we're using just a certain percentage of our wells, but when you that's not how we would operate our wells. The numbers that our wells are rated at are 24/7, the maximum pumping capacity 24/7, pumping all the time, where that's not the best operational practice is to run them 24/7. We cycle them. And, if we relied on those numbers 24/7, I think we would be even worst case for water supply. But the plan was sent to local jurisdictions, Staten, Sublimity, Marion County, Water Resources. We'll get a copy if you guys authorize us sending it into them. And with the other jurisdictions, Sublimity and Staten and Marion County, there was no objections or no questions about our plan. They thought it looked good as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? I don't have any questions. Is there a motion?
Find the right page. I move to approve the 2004 Water Conservation and Management.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to 6B. The Canyon Contracting Agreement action. Sorry. Not action, but
Yeah, so the 6B is the Canyon Contracting 6th and Main Street improvements. It's been brought to council a couple different times. One time for the design, West Tech designed some pedestrian improvements and parking improvements for the Figaro's property. The owner had come to the city and said they wanted to do some improvements, and so they're going to pay for the paving portion, and we're going to pay for some pedestrian improvements on that intersection. You guys have probably already seen the property across the street is doing some, so we thought it was a good time to use some ODOT pedestrian money that we have that we need to spend in the next fiscal year, I believe it is, towards that project, and kind of get that whole intersection, whole street done and completed. So before you are the contract, since you guys are the contract review board, these are the contracts with West Tech's Canyon's signatures, their bond information and insurance information.
I did have a question on this.
Yeah.
This figure on this estimate, is that the city's liability or is that the total?
Yeah.
And
The-
then they
the
were
con-
paying a percentage of it.
Yeah, this is the contract price. So I think once the contract is signed, then we would ask the owners to pay that portion, and then the city will cover the rest. So this is the total contract price.
I wasn't sure because the way it's written between the city of Aumsville and the bid, so it looks like we're liable for all of it.
Yeah, we actually have a separate agreement signed by both the property owners and the business owner, committing to the requested funds and committing to the easements that are required.
And then I needed a refresher. This was a prevailing wage, but did we send this out or was this one that they already had contracted? I don't remember.
We went through the public contracting or the process, and yes, it is a prevailing wage project.
Yeah, and I think it was last month, or no, it might have been a couple months ago, you guys received a staff report and then a breakdown of the developer's agreement, which makes the owner responsible for their portion, and then it had a breakdown of, I think we were using 3 different funds: the owner's money, the pedestrian money, and then street improvements fund to pay for the project.
Still a shocking number, kind of like the park.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was
For the
asking. It
scope
just
of
seems
work.
really high.
Yeah.
Prevailing wage, at what point does it have to be prevailing wage versus like on their private portion?
Under 50,000.
Okay.
Then they don't have to pay.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, and if it's private, so like the neighboring property, they funded their whole piece, so it's not prevailing wage, so there's not a real good comparison. The other thing we talked about at the other council meeting was that in order to keep Figaro's open, there's some sequencing that has to happen, and it'd be easier to just rip it all out and pour it 1 or 2 different times, pave it in one day and be done. But we wanted to make sure that the business owner was able to stay open, so there's a sequencing as part of the project. So like, the front part of the store will be done first, and then that once that's completed, then the contractor can move on to the next, which it adds money. It
Sure.
seems,
That, yeah, thank you.
yeah.
I didn't remember that, but
Yeah.
thank you. Does anyone else have any questions on this? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the Canyon Contracting Sixth and Main Improvement Contract as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to number 7, City Administrator Report.
Hi, Mayor, Council, City Administrator Ron Harding. I don't have a lot to report, but I do just have a couple of quick things. One is I do want to welcome our newest staff member who's sitting at the desk there, Carly Heimbeck. And she started today, so we just kind of threw her in
No
off the
cake?
deep end.
Nothing? No cake and snack?
We give them a cake when they're on the round.
They just don't share that with us.
I guess not.
Or they have cake.
And then just a couple of quick things. The Republic Service presentation that we moved off the agenda tonight. They had a transcribe issue with some of their numbers. Their revenues in the city aren't as large as was in the presentation. So they're going to redo those numbers and come back. It was just a matter of they use the same presentation format for other cities, and some of the numbers didn't get moved out and the new numbers put in, but their expected revenue increase or rate increase was correct. It was all of the other numbers. So they're going to come back probably in January. And I did talk to them. I know we've talked a number of times. My plan is to try to have a different rate resolution schedule. We would need to bring them. They're requesting to be brought up to where they need to be in market value. But one of the things we talked about is instead of coming every 3 or 4 years with a large increase, having a rate resolution like we do with our utility rates where there's a yearly increase as long as they're tied to like a CPI. So we're going to work out some of that language and bring that as part of the proposal. So in future years, these are smaller incremental increases. And we'll have a trigger if they need an increase above CPI, then they'd come to council. It doesn't make a lot of sense we have no other utilities that council has to review rates for. Power, phone, cable, none of those things do we have the authority to review rates. And this is some just old language in there. And I just don't know that it's a great position to put council in to try to understand their rate structure and be responsible for it. It seems like we have enough to deal with our own rates and justification, but we could put in there some notification processes and things like that. And that's going to be my proposal moving forward after the first of the year.
You're gonna like put that in writing. We're gonna let them do their initial big one and put in writing that every year it's gonna be this X amount.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And then they can do a notice to the council as long as they fit within the parameters, then there's not an action. Because it's almost like we have some sort of a rate authority, which we really don't. Our job is just to review their rates. And then it's like people think we're raising rates. We're really not. And so anyway, we'll work on that, but that'll come now after the first of the year for you. We did get notice that we did pass our preliminary audit for the reservoir and well projects. The project's not closed out. There's still a little bit left in the fund to close out, but they did like an end of the quarter audit, and thus far we're in compliance. And that was that $3.7 million grant for the reservoir and the well that we had drilled over in Porterpin Park. So we're on track for that. Grants, managing these grants, as you guys have heard some of the ins and outs, they're a lot of work, and it's a lot of new territory because we're not, it's not our area of expertise, but we're making it through there and getting it done. Christmas in the park is coming up. Just remind council, if you guys want to roll or you want to volunteer, or you want to come serve something. We have volunteers, staff will be there. We've got plenty of stuff and fun things to do. So just make sure you let us know. It's a 2-hour event, so it's fairly quick. And then the Christmas store, which is in here on the Saturday before. I'm not sure how the Exchange Club is set up for volunteers, but if you don't have anything else to do, just come by and have breakfast and see the kids. It's kind of a fun thing to do. We've done pretty well on grants this year again, and we did get a notice. It's in your correspondence. We did apply for a carbon reduction grant from ODOT, and this grant would allow us to buy 2 electric pickup trucks for the Public Works Department. Now, it's just a notification of award. We have no contracts. We're not allowed to really do anything with that at this point, but I just want to let you guys know that we did get a preliminary award on that, and it should save us a little bit of fuel.
Is that number to put a charger into?
I believe they just plug into the wall. I don't think there's a big charger
Yeah, that won't work.
system. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, okay.
That'd be great. I just rented one a couple weeks ago, so
Yeah, so
fresh on my mind, EV trucks.
so the grant pays for the vehicles, and then we like put in money for toolboxes and headache racks and lights and all that kind of stuff for the trucks. And the grant doesn't actually let you buy the charger, but I got quotes for the charger, and they're like $4,000 to $5,000. And our new Public Works building, the new electrical code requires that there's a 50 amp break or 50 amp service
Yeah.
specifically for EV charging in new public buildings. And so we already have the power there ready to go. So we should just be able to buy the charger with the rig.
like a charging station like you see.
No, but
Yes,
right.
it's just
If you just plug into 110 at
Yeah.
home, that thing would be plugged in for a week before you could
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
to the other end of the
Yeah.
city,
Yeah.
you know.
They have conversions for those that they.
Oregon's doing this for how many, I wonder how many they awarded, $193,000 they're pushing, giving cities half-ton. Do you know if it's gonna be the Ford Lightning or the Chevy?
We would then go out once we got the notice.
Then you can pick one out.
We could pick one off of, we would pick it off of the state.
Okay,
Vehicle list. That's how we'd do that. All right, I don't have anything else. If you guys have any questions for me, getting close to the end of the year, so we're all on
We're running out of
Hello.
questions.
holiday mode.
I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
All right, moving on to mayor and councilor reports. Does anyone have anything to report?
Running out of reports too.
Anything for good of the order?
I just want to pass on a thank you, and informally at this point, from the food pantry. We were able to go buy turkey breasts to go with the foods that other parties are gathering to bring in for Wednesday. So everybody will get a turkey breast and some food for Thanksgiving.
That award letter is in correspondence for you guys to review. And at this point, we will oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna add for the children's store that we do have 7 Job's daughters and 7 scouts that will be assisting the Exchange Club. But please come, because I'm sure Ron would love to serve you pancakes on that Saturday morning.
And sausage.
And
hey,
sausage.
there you go.
I don't think JoJo's gonna be sleeping at the back corner this year, though.
Well, December 7th.
December 7th, okay. All right, so at this time, we will adjourn the regular part of the meeting, and we have an executive session this evening. Are we meeting at the office over there? How do you want to do this?
Go ahead and clear the council chambers. There's no business, or it's just an informational executive session for council related to contract negotiation. So we could just clear the council chambers and it'll be 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, and then we'll come back.